Welcome to worship at the McPherson Church of the Brethren. We are an open and affirming congregation that strives to be hospitable and attentive to all of creation. We do not always meet that lofty goal, and we have our share of ups and downs. But in the midst of it all, we continue to listen to God's call on our individual lives and the life of this congregation. We continue to seek to follow Jesus simply, peacefully, together. We are humbled you have chosen to worship with us. Welcome.
"100 years ago this coming November, the first dirt was turned to start construction on this building where we worship today. Over the next few weeks, we will look at changes in this church. Actually, the church began many years before 1920 at a location southeast of Galva. In the spring of 1876, 11 years after the nation's Civil War, and 19 years after the First Brethren came to Kansas, Joseph Elliott of Peabody began holding monthly meetings in a schoolhouse like this one, 9 miles south of McPherson. George Thomas, also from Peabody, came to McPherson County preaching every fourth week. C.W. Brubaker was one of 12 Brethren worshipers living near Galva. He had lived there since 1870. $15 per member was pledged to have a revival in various schoolhouses like Diamond Schoolhouse. On Wednesday, May 13, 1885, at least 17 Pennsylvania Brethren arrived by train at Galva. Jacob A. Brew, in the Gospel Messenger of August 22, 1885, wrote, quote, "The McPherson Brethren would have a love feast at Brother Joseph Masterson's farm," unquote. 23 Brethren became charter members of the McPherson County Church of the Brethren at that time. Subsequent council meetings were held in the Scrabble Hill and South Diamond schoolhouses. Because McPherson County was large, 36 miles north to south and 30 miles east to west, some brethren found themselves 20 miles distant from worship, and it became difficult to traverse trails and paths during wet and snowy weather. They decided to have separate worship houses at both the west and east ends of the county. We have no picture of the East Church, but this is a picture of the original West Church, today's Monitor. The East Church must have had the same or very similar construction because the record shows they cost nearly the exact amount of money, slightly over $1,100. Notice the two doors. After being wooed by several Kansas communities, McPherson College and Industrial Institute was founded in 1887. Many East Church members decided to move to McPherson to take advantage of educational opportunities for their children. Not wanting to go into further debt for the construction of another building, the first building on McPherson's campus would serve as their new home. However, this dormitory was not ready for occupancy, and two men went in search of a place to worship. They found a building belonging to the Swedish Mission Church. Whether the two doors on the front of the building, one for the brothers to enter and one for the sisters to enter, had any influence for its selection is a matter of speculation. It was rented for $1 per meeting. This church was at the corner of Euclid and Ash Street, the home of the South Dillon store in McPherson years later and home of the Journey Church today. The church congregation would worship at the dormitory and then in a building which became known as Sharp Hall, when it was completed for almost 40 years.
I'm ready to read your story for today. So just let me get my book. Hang on. It was right. I had it right here. It was right here, and I don't see it. So I'm gonna have to. I don't know. It's gone. Oh no! It was here. It was here, but I don't see it anymore. It's all this other stuff. There's like everything else is every other book and other. I don't need that or that. Oh my gosh, that's not. I don't need that. I don't need that. That's not good. Or that. I don't know. I don't see it. Do you think it's just do you think it's just gone? I will keep looking. Oh, a ball. That'd be fun. Oh, sorry. I'll put that down. Yeah, I found it. I found it. It wasn't gone after all. That's good. Whew. Okay. So the book that I'm going to read to you is called Because I Love You by Max Lucado. And the illustrations are by Mitchell Hines. I hope you like it. I love this book. Okay. Long ago, in a land far away and unlike any you've ever seen, there lived a wise man named Shaddai. Shaddai was a large man with a tender heart. When he laughed, which is something he did often, his cheeks would just lift up until his eyes became half moons of joy. When he sang, which is something else he did often, everything stopped to listen. Tall aspens would bend, squirrels, butterflies, and birds would pause. Even the children would turn when they heard his voice. And well they should. It was for them that he sang. And for the children, Shaddai had built a wonderful village. It was more than any child could ever dream. The children plunged into the sky blue pond. They squealed as they soared high on the swings hung from the apple tree branches. And they scampered through the meadows and giggled in the orchards. When Shaddai wasn't in the meadow with the children, or in the orchards with the children, he was in the workshop with the children. They loved to be with him while he worked. They loved to smell the sawdust and hear him sing and watch him carve a chair out of a log or make a table out of a tree. They would gather around him and take their turns pressing their tiny flat hands against his great big one. That looks like a fun place. Every night he would gather the children on the grassy meadow and tell them stories. Fascinated, the children would listen as long as Shaddai, or their weary eyes, allowed. The children loved Shaddai, and Shaddai loved the children. He knew each one by name, and he knew everything about them. He knew Lucy's love of birds. He knew Roland's fear of darkness. He knew Daphne was friendly and Spencer was shy, and he knew Paladin was curious. When one of them called his name, he dropped whatever he was doing and turned. His giant heart had 100 strings, each held by a different child. And that's why, and he loved them each the same, sorry. That's why he built the wall? The wall was as a high stone fence surrounding the village. Shaddai had built it rock upon rock. The wall was so tall it stood high above Shaddai. Even if he stretched his arms as high as he still couldn't touch the top of the wall. A deadly forest stood outside the village, and Shaddai, as he built the fence, he would often pause and look into the shadows beyond. Cruel thorns and savage beasts and hidden pits filled the forest. It was no place for the children Shaddai loved. Beyond the wall is danger, he would tell the children. You were made for my village, not for the terrible land beyond. Stay with me. It is safe here. But in his heart, he knew It was only a matter of time. The day he placed the final stone on the wall, he returned to his shop, took a long aspen branch, sat down at his bench, and carved a staff. Shaddai stood the staff in a corner. "I'll be ready," he told himself. I wonder what he's ready for. Some time later, a boy ran into Shaddai's workshop. The sandy-haired child with searching eyes and restless energy brought the maker both joy and concern. "Shaddai!" In one motion, the maker dropped his hammer and turned. "What is it, Paladin?" The boy spoke in spurts as he gasped for air. "The wall! I found a hole! It's a big opening, sir." The boy held his hands stretched out to show the size. Someone could crawl through it. Oh, look what he found. Shaddai pulled a stool over and sat down. "I knew it would be you, Paladin, my child. Tell me, how did you find it?" "I was walking along the wall, searching for..." "Holes?" Paladin paused, surprised that Shaddai knew. "Yes, I was looking for holes, so you could see out into the forest." "Well, I was curious, Shaddai. I wanted to know why you won't let us go out there. Why is it so bad?" "Paladin, listen to me. The lands out there are not for you, and they are not for me. A journey into the forest will hurt you. You are not made for these lands." Paladin spoke softly. "Well, you will fix the hole, then?" "No, Paladin." "But you just said you don't want us to leave." "I don't want you to leave. I want you to stay with me." "But if you don't fix it," said Paladin, the children might leave." "I know, Paladin, but I want the children to stay because they want to stay, not because they have to." Paladin didn't really understand. Uncomfortable, he turned to leave. He needed to think about what Shaddai had said. As he entered the sunlight, he looked back into the shop. There sat Shaddai, leaning backward, still watching. Paladin turned quickly away as if he hadn't seen. He walked as fast as he could, aimlessly at first, then purposely, toward the fence. "I won't get too near," he said to himself. I'll just peek out." Questions came as quickly as his steps. Why do I want to do what Shaddai doesn't want me to do? Why am I so curious? Is it that bad beyond the fence? Is it bad that I want to see beyond the fence? By now, Paladin was at the hole. Without stopping to think, he lay on his stomach and squirmed through just far enough to stick his head out the other side. "I'll just take a quick look," he told himself. What could be wrong with that? As if his knees were moving on their own, Paladin crawled farther. Soon he was through the hole and on the outside of the wall. He rose slowly to his feet. For several moments, he didn't move. He wondered if something would come out of the trees to hurt him. Nothing did. He said. It's not so bad. It's nice out here. What should I worry about? Paladin began walking into the forest. Twigs snapped beneath his bare feet. Sweet flowers scented the air. I don't see any scary creatures, he thought. The trees were so thick he could barely see the sky. Just a few steps into the woods, he said, to see what it's like. After a dozen more steps, he stopped. He liked the wilderness. There's nothing to fear here. For the first time in his young life, he was kind of wondering why Shaddai had said something. Just wait till I tell the others. And he turned to go back through the hole. But the hole was gone. He stopped and stared. He saw only a solid wall. Paladin ran to the wall. Was this the spot where he had crawled through, or was it somewhere else? He couldn't remember. He ran a dozen steps one way, and then a dozen steps the other. Nothing. Suddenly, he heard a strange sound in the woods behind him. He swung around, but he saw nothing. Paladin looked into the forest. It no longer seemed friendly. It was dark and threatening. It was scary. All kinds of crazy stuff was going on in there, and he didn't like it so much. Desperately, Paladin searched the wall. He couldn't climb over. He couldn't break through. There was no way home. If you leave, Shaddai had said, you will not be able to find your way home. The boy's eyes were wide with fear. It was getting kind of crazy all around him, wasn't it? That's kind of scary. He sat on the ground and hugged his knees to his chest and began to cry. As Paladin huddled there, lonely and afraid, he remembered something else Shaddai had said often. I love you so much. Does he love me enough to come and find me? The boy wondered. Will he hear me if I call him? Shaddai, I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you. Please come help me. Paladin's plea had been heard by the one who loved him even before it was spoken. For as the boy left Shaddai's workshop, the maker had watched him as long as he could. When Paladin was out of sight, Shaddai turned, not to take up his work, but to remove his apron. He hung his tools on the wall. Then he reached to the corner and took the staff, the one he'd carved after he finished the wall. Now we know why he made that staff and what he was getting ready for. Even before Paladin had reached the wall, Shaddai had left the shop. Even before Paladin had asked for help, Shaddai was on the way to give it. Even before the hole in the wall had closed, Shaddai had opened another. His strong hands pulled away the rocks until he could see into the forest. Wait a minute. So even before all that, so he knew all along. He was there. He was there all the whole time. Wow. With his staff at his side, Shaddai crawled through the hole. He left the village he'd made and set out in search of his child. Looks kind of scary and lonely there, doesn't it? And look, he found him. So even though Paladin was so curious and afraid, and even though he kind of disobeyed, we try to do the right things, right? But sometimes we feel like maybe we're all alone, even because we've either done something we shouldn't have done, or maybe the world around us is a little bit too crazy, and we think, God must not be here because this just is not good. I don't like this. But the truth is that God's still there taking care of us, even if we can't see him. Even if we don't know that he's there, we should know, I want you to know in your heart, because it's hard to understand that something and someone, that God can still be there even if you can't see him. But he is. He's there the whole time. And he's going to take care of us no matter what. No matter what. And you know what else? We're always going to be there for each other too. We're going to take care of each other no matter what. Even when you can't see your family or your friends or the people who love you, maybe people from church or from your school. Even though you don't see them all the time, they're there. And they love you and they're going to take care of you too. So as you go out into this week, I want you to remember how loved you are, not just by friends and family and your teachers and the people in your community, but especially how loved you are by God, no matter what, all the time, forever and ever and for always, even when you can't see him.
Thank you for your faithful stewardship during this unusual time of pandemic. You may continue to give online at maccobrethren.org. That's Matt Cobb at macbrethren.org. Or you may mail your check, as so many of you are doing, Just drop it to 200 North Cary, or you may hand deliver your check to the church office. Just slip it through the slot at the door in the education building. And if you are watching from afar, please give to your local needs.
Good morning. I am not looking directly in the camera because I'm looking off to the side to prepare to read this morning's scripture. It's Ecclesiastes 11, 1 through 6. And I'm going to read from the Message because I feel like the Message captures the ethos of the text and the whole of worship that we're leading this morning. Ecclesiastes 11, 1 through 6 from the Message. Be generous. Invest in acts of charity. Charity yields high returns. Don't hoard your goods. Spread them around. Be a blessing to others. This could be your last night. When the clouds are full of water, it rains. When the wind blows down a tree, it lies where it falls. Don't sit there watching the wind. Do your own work. Don't stare at the clouds. Get on with your life. Just as you'll never understand the mystery of life forming in a pregnant woman, so you'll never understand the mystery at work in all that God does. Go to work in the morning and stick to it until evening without watching the clock. You never know from moment to moment how your work will turn out in the end. Good morning. I am coming to you from the craft. I figure this would be a great place to record this morning's sermon. I would be with you in person, but we're still honoring social distancing and trying our best to remain safe. COVID numbers aren't going the direction we had hoped and prayed for, but we promise, leadership team, pastoral staff, the COVID task force team, we are all continuing the work to create a date in the safest space possible for us all to meet in person, and it will be sooner than later. Please hold us in prayer as we continue to discern the path forward, as we listen to God's Spirit directing us, but also as we're wise and gentle. This morning, the reason why I'm broadcasting from the craft is because this seems to be the perfect place to talk to you about what the author of Ecclesiastes really points to, and that is we never know, do we? We never know if the work that we're putting ourselves into full bore, if all the intense energy and sweat and tears and prayers, we never know if any of it's going to bear fruit. We never know if we're actually going to see anything from the effort we put into, speaking specifically as members of the body of Christ, as members of the church. We just simply act in faith and we do the work we're called to do. But perhaps the most challenging element of ministry in not seeing fruit or recognizing fruit or fruit being sort of come to fruition in front of us is specifically when it comes to working with young people, kids, adolescents, teens, graduates, up until they finally reach the age that they're ready to start their own families. And then we begin to see this trend, at least prior to COVID, of families returning to the church, raising their kids, and starting this generational cycle once again. And we never know, do we? As we sit in the now, as we sit in the anxiety of the now, we never know. But the author of Ecclesiastes makes it clear that we're not to worry. We're simply just to do the work. We're not to worry about whether or not the hard work we put into brings the promise that we're looking for. We never know if the student that we invest so much time and energy into is going to be something amazing that we believe they could be. But you know what? It's not for us to know. It's for us to do. What the author of Ecclesiastes really points to in the wisdom of Ecclesiastes, it's not for us to worry about the tomorrows and to stare at the skies waiting and waiting and waiting. No, there's no joy in that. There's no peace in that. There's no ministry in that. What it is we're to call the day-to-day, the grind, the intensity of the now, and just grind it out. Just work hard. Just put our effort into the now and really, really invest in the moment that we have, because the hours of this day, the daylight, the sunlight, the glorious now is all we were promised anyway. And so as the author of Ecclesiastes makes clear, the wisdom found in this is that if we stare at the sky, if we worry about what has yet to happen, and if we feel like we're laboring in vain, then that stops us from the work. It impedes our efforts. It handicaps the ministry. And that's not what we're looking for or what we need at this time. In this COVID pandemic world, we don't need to be stopped. We need to be empowered. We don't need to be lost in anxiety. We need to feel liberated and free and ready to go. Which brings me back to the children's ministry and the student ministry of the McPherson Church of the Brethren in just a moment, as soon as I'm done preaching, because really what you want to see is what's coming next, are the beautiful, awesome videos that are following this one. It's about the students that we invest in. This year we started something different. Not really different, but yes, different. What was once Kingdom Kids, the faith formation team felt called and pulled and discerned. We felt that it was time to change the name to MacTown Kids, and that's MAC with a K in parentheses, with the obvious reference to Alexander Mack, but also Anna Mack. We want to make sure that we recognize Alex AMAC was not alone, but AMAC was also part of a partnership with Anna. And the two of them really are the parents of the Church of the Brethren. So we wanted to honor that tradition. And so we have MacTown Kids. And the reason why we wanted to move from Kingdom Kids, it's not that Kingdom was not reflective of our tradition, but we want to truly find a way to get back to who we were. Our tradition as an Anabaptist, pietist body of believers flows from a time of oppression and persecution and unknown certainty. We simply operated out of the promise of Ecclesiastes, mind you. Not necessarily we were anchored in that text, but the promise that if we do the work every single day, that's all that we can truly control, and that's what we will focus on. And so every single day, our ancestors, our mothers and our fathers, spiritual mothers and fathers, worked hard to honor God, to live like Jesus, to create a community that was peaceful and, yes, equal. It was about equality and men and women being lifted up, and about living in a world that was different, to be in the world but not of the world, to count well the cost, as AMAC taught us. So then we go back to these kids, these amazing students that we get to spend time with. anchored in our past. We, with the Faith Formation team, felt it was also time to catapult us, to spring forward into a new day. We saw this COVID pandemic as an opportunity to create something with God guiding us new, something different, something that really offered promise and hope. And I know there's noise in the background, but that is a blessed noise. How beautiful of a world we live in, that they're still living and moving and working, even as we feel so much anxiety with it. And so Faith Formation wanted us to spring forward, tied to our back, our past, our history, kicking forward into the new day, honoring those pieces of our heritage that really reflect who we are, but also who we feel called to be. Not just who we were, but who we can and will be. This is also a time of visioning and spiritual discernment and moving forward with passion and faith and zeal. See, that's also the wisdom of Ecclesiastes. It's about simply moving forward. We can't control what is outside of ourselves, but we can control our own response and our efforts in the midst of the storm. And so MacTown Kids was created and formed around this vision that in these homes, kindergarten through first graders are meeting at the church. Second and third graders meeting at Lynn and Dan Lichty's house. Fourth and fifth graders meeting at the Bowen household. And we try really hard to keep these groups small, but also intimate and community focused and following Jesus all the way. This work is continuing, and these kids, these students need these moments together. There are students that are suffering from PTSD, I believe, and I'm not clinical in any way. I haven't done the training, but the symptoms are there of such high anxiety and loss that there is PTSD because of everything that's been taken from these students. And so MacTown Kids remains like this center, this place of refuge and joy, and they could just be kids, and they could play, and they could remember that even with all the whirlwind around and the chaos around them, there is a place, and it is MacTown Kids that they can come to and learn about Jesus and be tied to one another, and they can laugh, and they can run, and they can do it safely as we can possibly make it. And so these videos that follow are 5 Bibles handed to kids that have come through our MacTown Kids. But it's not just MacTown Kids that's flourishing. Maybe the numbers aren't all that we used to see, but the faith is growing. The seeds are being planted. They're being watered. Middle school and senior high students continue to meet. We meet in the park as a way to socially distance safely, but also to be together. And there is so much wonderful love and passion that flows through those times together. Our students need each other, but they need us also to work with them to create safe spaces for them. They are disconnected enough in a world where masks have to be worn. Please wear your mask. But also where we're told to stay away from each other. And we lock ourselves up. And there's remote learners that feel so disconnected and lost in the whirlwind. MacTown Kids, youth group, middle school, senior high, we are doing our best to remind everyone and I mean everyone, that we continue the work that we're called to do. Like the wisdom of Ecclesiastes, we continue the work, and we will continue to the work that God called us to the glory of God and for our neighbor's good. We may not know where the seeds go, but we do know that if we plant them, God will water them, and who knows what amazing fruit will come. Amen.
So Chandler, my name's Susie. I'm the chair of the Faith Formation team, which doesn't mean anything to you. But every year we give third graders a Bible that's a gift from our church. But I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself. How old are you?
9.
9. Okay, what's your favorite thing in the world right now?
Probably home.
Home?
Yeah.
What do you like to do at home?
I like to read my book.
Yeah? What are you reading these days?
It's a chapter book.
Yeah, I like chapter books too. Good deal. What's your favorite class in school?
Probably the one I've got right now.
What's that?
Her name's Mrs. Crow.
Yeah? Do you like math? Do you like reading? Do you like science?
I like science.
Yeah. Cool. And who's your best friend?
I've got one named Caden.
Caden. Excellent. Well, so this Bible has your name on it. And it's a gift from the Church of the Brethren. And it's super cool that you're reading chapter books now, because that's part of why we give them to you in 3rd grade, because we know that you can start reading it. It may not be the only Bible you ever get in your life, but it's one that we hope will remind you how much we love you and how much your church family is here for you if you need us. Okay? And see, there you go. It's got your name on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You want to wave at the camera, say hi to the church?
Hi.
All right. All right. Miss Sally, I came to give you a Bible, but I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself first. How old are you?
8.
And what's your favorite thing in the world to do?
Cheer.
Cheer, yeah. Your mom said you do that 5 days a week. That's a lot. Tell me about your chickens here. You have 26 chickens?
Yeah.
I like the white fluffy ones.
A lot of the big ones lay the eggs.
Uh-huh. Do you get to gather the eggs also?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so at our church, whenever somebody is going to 3rd grade, we give them a Bible with their name on it. So there's your name. How many sisters do you have?
4.
4? You're the youngest of 4 sisters, huh? And what do you like about school?
Probably that the math is not so hard.
That the math isn't so hard. I think I'd like that too. So, this is a gift from your church. You will probably have other Bibles throughout your life, but this one is special because it reminds you about how much we care about you and how glad we are that you're part of our church family. So, thanks for letting us come and see you today, and wave hi to everybody at church. And here you go, my dear.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and for the camera, could you tell us your name?
Bentley,
Hi, Bentley. Can you tell us what grade you are in and what age?
3rd, and I am 8.
Where do you go to school?
Lincoln Elementary.
Do you have any sisters or brothers?
I have one sister,
What is her name?
Lincoln.
What is your favorite subject in school?
Science.
What do you like to do for fun?
Video games.
What's your favorite video game?
Call of Duty.
Your church family wants to give you this Bible, and we understand that this might not be your last Bible, but we hope you cherish it. Read it, learn it, and grow with it. We believe this Bible marks a big chapter in your faith journey. Thank you. Can you wave and say hi to your church family?
Hi, guys.
Thank you again. Hi, my name is Daniel, and for the camera, could you tell us your name?
My name's Brielle.
Hi, Brielle. Can you tell us what grade you are in and your age?
I'm in 3rd grade and I'm 9 years old.
Where do you go to school?
Washington Elementary.
Do you have any sisters or brothers?
I have one brother,
What is his name?
Bracken.
What is your favorite subject in school?
P.
What do you like to do for fun?
Read.
What's your favorite book?
Probably Wayside School.
Your church family wants to give you this Bible, and we understand that this might not be your last Bible, but we hope you cherish it, read it, learn and grow with it. We believe this Bible marks a big chapter in your faith journey. Thank you. Can you wave and say hi to the church family?
Hi.
Thank you again.
Bigger than it is now. And given your time, your talent, your treasure, whatever is needed of you or asked or called of you. If so, say I do. All right. One at a time. Who's going first? 3 times forward. I will grab the back of your shirt, put my left hand on your forehead. You're actually going to just dunk yourself. I'm not pushing you under unless I have to. You have to go completely under the water. You're not ready?
No, I just want to go first.
All right. You got a wonderful community ready to embrace you as you come out of the waters. Do me a favor, Kate. As each of them comes out of the water, do I have a volunteer willing to hug them and kind of just... All right, so Paula's going to hug. Get that picture. Did you bring towels? Yes. All right. Sage, here we go. Again. Cold? It's cold.
We're going to the river.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous. And it's good. Those are on tight?
Yeah.
Because the decay at the bottom is really super.
You like, it was so clean. I put my chocolates on spoiled. You got them at Ooh, that's gross.
It's just
Cold?
oh, there's a wonderful aroma here. How far out you want to go?
As shallow as I can be.
You got it, Jared.
Not this. Not this.
That's what I'm gonna post this.
It's so cold.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Sage, I can't. I'm on my tiptoes, so let's go here. We're not going to kneel down.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to grab. Here, turn this way. All right. This way. Ready?
This way.
Okay. Sage, making your commitment to the church, to God, and to the world. I baptize you in the name of the Creator, all the way under.
That's so cold.
In the name of Jesus. Ready? Here we go. And one more time, in the name of the Spirit. You ready?
No.
Okay. All right, here we go. All the way under. Bless you. Welcome. Congratulations. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good job. All right, welcome her out. Tyra, your turn.
Come here. Big baby. Give me a hug. Yay! You're so wet.
All right, you ready? Watches can get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, just like Sage, 3 times forward. I have your shirt. Just note yourself. I'm just going to hold you up. All right, Tyra, you made your commitment to God, Jesus, to the world, and to the church. I now baptize in the name of the Creator. It's cold.
Yeah.
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
In the name of Jesus. Okay, in the name of the Creator. Welcome.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Sorry, I'm like really, really wet.
You are baptized.
Be a wet picture together.
Oh,
Good job, Jerry. Does somebody need to give you a hug? Yeah.
that's the coldest yet.
Really?
Oh, you're cool. I thought Hannah Kirshner or you know, one of the others was really cold, but this is the coldest. You can stop filming.
Okay.
Thank you, Jerry, for sharing videos of the 3rd graders receiving their Bibles, for sharing the baptisms that happened in the cold water at Camp Colorado, for sharing an update on Mac Town Kids, for the ministries that are ongoing in the middle of the pandemic. As we come to the end of our service, I invite you to pay special attention to a hymn here in this place. Normally we sing this hymn as an opening and gathering worship, but it is especially appropriate here at the end. I invite you and encourage you to listen closely to the text. These words call each one of us just as we are, fearing and forsaken, rich and strong, old and young. These words call us to gather as God's people, to enter God's song with courage, to be salt of the earth for all creation, to sow seeds of faith, trusting, as Gail said in the children's story, that God is always present, bringing new light and new life into every person and every place, here in this place.
Here in this place, new light is streaming. Now is the darkness
darkness vanished away. See in this space our fears and our dreamings, brought here to you in the light of this day. Gather us in, the lost and forsaken. Gather us in, the blind and the lame. Call to us now, and we shall awaken. We shall arise at the sound of our name. Not in the dark of buildings confining, not in some heaven light years away, but here in this place the new light is shining. Now is the kingdom, now is the day. Gather us in and hold us forever. Gather us in and make us your own. Gather us in, all peoples together. Fire of love in our flesh and our bone.
So, we've come to the end of our worship this morning, and we've seen amazing videos of 5 incredible third graders getting their Bibles. We've seen the baptism of 2 students that are going to go on and change the world. Brothers and sisters, a pandemic does not stop the work of the church. The pandemic can't even come close to stopping the power of God's Spirit moving through God's people. Now is the time for us to work as hard as we ever have. Now is the time to discern and to strategically plan and to think and listen to what God is calling us to next. Now is the time to get ahead and to be ready for what new season is unfolding before us. Now is the time to recreate from the ashes that are all around us. Now is the time to get to work. Will you join us in this work? Will you join us envisioning and listening to what God is calling to us next for such a time as this? To the glory of God and for our neighbor's good. Go in love. Go in peace. Amen.